Gavel here. We are going to gavel in. This is an emergency special Boston City Council meeting. Today is Friday, October 25th, 2024. I call to order today's emergency special meeting of the Boston City Council. Viewers can watch the council meeting live on YouTube at boston.gov/city-council-TV. In accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, modifying certain requirements of the open meeting law and relieving public bodies of certain requirements, including the requirement that public bodies conduct its meetings in a public place that is open and physically accessible to the public, the City Council will be conducting this meeting remotely. This enables the City Council to carry out its responsibilities while ensuring public access to its deliberations through adequate alternative means. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll to ascertain the presence of a quorum?
Councilor Braden.
Here.
Councilor Coletta Zapata.
Here.
Councilor Durkin.
Here.
Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
Here.
Councilor Fitzgerald.
Here.
Councilor Flynn.
Here.
Councilor Louisiane.
Here.
Councilor Mejia.
Here.
Councilor Murphy. Councilor Murphy. Councilor Pepin.
Here.
Councilor Santana. Councilor Weber.
Here.
Councilor Worrell.
Here.
Councilor Murphy. Councilor Santana. A quorum is present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And just in case people are having audio issues, I do want to make sure that everyone who is here states that they are here. I do not see Councilor Santana is joining now. Mr. Clerk, would you like to
Yep. Councilor Santana.
Here, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. And I see Councilor Murphy on the Zoom. I see that her.
I'm here.
Okay.
I said
Councilor
here.
Murphy.
Just here.
All right.
She just said here.
Yes,
Thank you. So, Mr. Clerk, is there a quorum is present?
A
Yes.
quorum is present, yes.
Awesome. Thank you. I've been informed by the clerk that a quorum is present. To prevent further delay and address urgent tax matters being taken up by the city and with the state, as council president, I have called for today's meeting in order to refer the mayor's proposed home rule petition to committee for further action. In order to continue with today's order of business, we must first take a roll call vote for this special emergency meeting. This vote will require 2/3 vote in the affirmative. Mr. Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote in order for this special emergency meeting to continue? If you agree for this meeting to continue, vote in the affirmative. If not, you may vote otherwise. Mr. Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Councilor Braden. Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta Zapata.
Yes.
Councilor Coletta Zapata, yes. Councilor Durkin.
Yes.
Councilor Durkin, yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilor Fernandez Anderson, yes. Councilor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilor Fitzgerald, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Louisiane.
Yes.
Councilor Louisiane, yes. Councilor Mejia.
Affirmative.
Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy, yes. Councilor Pepin.
Yes.
Councilor Pepin, yes. Councilor Santana.
Yes.
Councilor Santana, yes. Councilor Weber.
Yes.
Councilor Weber, yes. And Councilor Worrell.
Yes.
Councilor Worrell, yes. 13 in the affirmative.
Thank you. This special emergency meeting of the City Council will continue. We are now on to communications from Her Honor the Mayor. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 1612?
Docket number 1612, message in order for your approval, a home rule petition to the General Court entitled Petition for a Special Law regarding an act relative to property tax classification in the City of Boston.
Thank you. Docket number 1612 will be referred to the Committee on Government Operations. Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and to my council colleagues. The council is scheduled to meet again in the Ionella Chamber on Wednesday, October 30th, 2024 at noon. Thank you to my colleagues, central staff, the clerk and the clerk's office, and the council stenographer. To adjourn today's meeting, we will conduct a roll call vote. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta Zapata.
Yes.
Councilor Coletta Zapata, yes. Councilor Durkin.
Yes.
Councilor Durkin, yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilor Fernandez Anderson, yes. Councilor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilor Fitzgerald, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes,
Councilor
and Mr.
Flynn,
Clerk,
yes.
I had a point of order also.
Yep. To the council president.
We are in the middle of a roll call vote to adjourn. So I don't like disrupting the vote. At the end, I'll take your point of order.
Councilor Louisian.
Yes.
Councilor Louisian, yes. Councilor Mejia.
I have a point of clarification. If we end the meeting, does that mean that we don't have, I don't know. I just want to make sure I understand the protocols and procedures at this point. So when you say that, like, are we adjourning? If I say yes, or are we not staying? Like what? I want to be clear.
We're adjourning, but I still have to say that we are adjourned at the end, and I will take Councilor Flynn's question, his point of order.
So that means that the meeting is ending, and then whatever he says is like what usually happens in announcements, just so that I'm clear in terms of from a procedural standpoint. When you say you're going to adjourn, once everybody does, we end the meeting, and then whatever Flynn has to say is, I don't have to stay to hear it, or is it part of the meeting? That's what I need to know.
So we'll do the roll call. We are in the middle of a roll call vote in the way that we do roll call votes, and nothing disrupts the roll call vote. But in order to formally adjourn the meeting, I must say that the meeting is adjourned. I will wait to hear from Councilor Flynn, and I will not say that. But we will take this formal vote to adjourn.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification. Yes.
Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor Murphy.
Yes, but I do have a question. After Councilor Flynn is able to speak, will other people be able to ask questions if there's a reason?
This was assigning a docket to committee.
No, I understand exactly what we're here for, but once that point of order and that is, will other people be able to make?
No, if you have a point of order.
Yep.
But if it's a general question, if it's a point
So
of order.
we won't
based on
end the meeting
rule-
with announcements or anything
Yes.
else to speak to. Okay, I do have a question that I want to know if there's already a plan to go forward to have a meeting. I would assume it would be scheduled for Tuesday, and if the chair of the committee that this will be placed in, will there be an expectation that we vote on Wednesday? And is there an expectation that this body is going to have a hearing to discuss this new tax proposal? Because it seems like lots of other people in the city have had the, I would say, pleasure, opportunity to be really involved in this conversation, but we on the council have not been.
Okay, thank you for that. I will hold that question. We're going to continue with our roll call vote, and at the end,
Thank you.
yeah.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Murphy, yes. Councilor Pepen.
Yes.
Councilor Pepen, yes. Councilor Santana.
Yes.
Councilor Santana, yes. Councilor Weber.
Yes.
Councilor Weber, yes. And Councilor Worrell.
Yes.
Councilor Worrell, yes. For adjournment, 13 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. But before we do that, thank you, Mr. Clerk, and thank you to my colleagues. Councilor Flynn, you have a point of order?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My point of order is, as we go forward in this discussion, will we have a formal hearing on this docket? And if so, will there be public testimony that will be allowed for it as well?
Thank you for that question. That's very similar to Councilor Murphy's question. In this meeting, I refer the docket to committee. If the chair of the committee would like to speak, you may speak because it is in your committee and it is now in your control. Chair of the Committee of Government Operations, Councilor Gigi Coletta Zapata. If you would like to, you may address those questions. If not, we can table them to your leadership. Councilor Coletta Zapata, you have the floor. And before that, are there any other questions?
Yeah, I do. I don't.
Yeah,
I'm going to
Council-
raise my hand. Yep.
Councilor Fitzgerald, your question?
I'll let Councilor Coletta Zapata speak first to Councilor Flynn's question, and then I'll ask mine, if that's all right with you, Madam President.
If you ask it now, because if the chair can just address them all together, that would be helpful.
Madam Chair, I have other questions depending on what the answer is. I just would like for us to have a discussion about the next steps forward. I'd rather ask all these questions now so we can get through with them. I wouldn't want to rush this process. Seems like we're rushing it to get the meeting over. I know I spoke out and other colleagues did, but I think other colleagues also want to learn about the next steps. Just my opinion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Normally, when items are referred to committee, it's not, we don't usually have, we're treating this as a normal meeting, there's usually not a discussion, and I did not see any hands before we adjourned. I moved for adjournment, but I will allow folks to ask questions. The questions are going to the chair. If folks would like to ask those questions and the chair can answer those questions altogether, if there are additional questions after that, we will do that. But I'd like to take the questions now and the chair can address people's questions. So Councilor Fitzgerald and Councilor Mejia, I do want, you may ask your question now. I do understand that there may be more questions upon Councilor Coletta Zapata answering them.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you.
The two-part. One is about this meeting here. I know it's adjourned. But this was an emergency meeting, obviously the first I've ever taken a part of. What constitutes an emergency, and and who decides that? Just so I know that we met the parameters to have this meeting, which I'm fine that we had, but I just want to make sure for people listening at home, they understand what this is and why we were allowed to have it. Secondly, to the committee chair, if there are panels as we typically have when a hearing comes in front of us, again, I will just sort of ask that there be panels representing both sides, as we have as I've requested in the past, if that's a possibility. I know that public testimony can make up for that at times, but I think for our benefit and folks that listen in and for media, et cetera, to have two formal panels representing the pros and cons of either side, I believe would help. I just want to make that statement. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Councilor Fitzgerald. I guess your question was really right on point in terms of just, I'm always going to be a stickler for process and procedures, right? And even though we're all here showing up as we should, because that's what we get paid to do, oftentimes we walk into spaces and places and information is not, is cash in many ways, right? There are people who have lots of it and people who hoard it and people who like, all that good stuff. So for me, while we rush through this whole process to adjourn the meeting to I like to just pause a little bit because now we've adjourned. That's why I asked, are we adjourning a meeting? Do we have time? I'm the type of person that I'd like to understand what I'm walking into and what the expectations are from the get-go so that I can participate in ways that make the most sense. So to go from, we're going to have the special meeting, then we're going to adjourn, and then we're going to come back, then we're going to ask our questions later. I just want to know what I'm walking into and what I'm walking out of and what the expectation is. Because if we're just going to have the special meeting so we can put it on a docket, and then we're just going to bring it up for a vote on Wednesday, I'd like to know the protocols, policies, and procedures, because you didn't state that, so it just felt like rushed. But if the expectation is that because that is the process in which we go about when we put something into committee, that we have a hearing, I'm going to assume that Councilor Finn's questions make absolutely no sense, because we know the norm is to have a hearing on something that gets placed in committee. So now you got me all confused here, because it makes absolutely no sense that Councilor Flynn is asking whether or not we're going to have a hearing when we know that the protocols, policies, and procedures state that whenever something is referred to a committee, there is some deliberation that happens. And so I'm unclear as to why we're even questioning it. And if he's questioning it, then that got me questioning it. So I just need somebody who can, from a protocol, policy, and procedure standpoint, break it down so that nobody's worried about anything just being rushed through the process, because it feels like that's what the fear is from my colleagues. And I didn't walk in here with any fear, and I don't want to walk out of here with any fear. So it'll just be really helpful for me to understand what is at play here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, did you have a question?
First, a point of order, Madam President, through you, Mr. Clerk. Is it possible that a counselor can retract our vote, or at this point, since it hasn't been adjourned?
Well, I mean, it's still within parameters of the meeting. You can change your vote. We need 2/3 to adjourn.
So if we don't have 2/3, we adjourn. And if that's the case, then why didn't people just vote no? And I mean this with all due respect. If you didn't want to adjourn and you want to have a discussion, vote no. And then we would have stayed and we would have, I guess, within the parameters, talked it out. It's gone to committee. Councilor, Madam Chair, Coletta, if you are scheduling a hearing, correct? You've answered that already.
Councilor Fernandez Anderson, I thank you for clarifying those points. I just want to take all the questions, but I just do want to clarify that when matters are referred to committee, it is
Sorry, the last one is another question. Sorry, Madam President.
Yeah, and I'll allow Councilor Coletta Zapata to answer, but I just want to clarify that when a matter is referred to committee, it is within the purview of the committee chair, whether there is a hearing held, or whether or whether they pull it from the green sheets, or whether they vote on it without a hearing. I will now, and then I'm going to turn it now to Councilor Coletta Zapata to answer the questions pursuant to the docket that is in her committee. I will say that this emergency meeting was called pursuant to our rules on the Boston City Council, Rule 1, in compliance with the open meeting laws. Councilor Coletta Zapata, if you would like to answer the question.
Thank you, Madam President. I did want to say thank you for allowing us to continue before adjourning. I guess it's becoming confusing because you've allowed it. So I'm just saying, should they take back their votes and stay, or figure it out?
I mean, I am comfortable with us continuing. I have not formally, the vote occurred. I have not formally adjourned the meeting, even though there was a vote taken. So all are in consensus with adjournment, which means that the meeting can be, that I can adjourn the meeting at any moment because everyone voted in the affirmative. But I am allowing for these questions to take place. Normally, when a matter, again, is referred to committee, it's within the purview of the committee chair. It's not often that someone turns on their light to talk about a matter once it is referred to committee. I also did not see any hands raised before we began the roll call vote for adjournment. That is probably some of the limitations of having it. This is our first online Zoom meeting as a city council. So there may be limitations in that in terms of people raising their hands and not understanding. So I understand that we did take the vote in the same way that in chambers, if once a vote is started, nothing is stopping it. That is the same thing here. And so we took a vote. I have not ended the meeting. I've allowed for these questions, and I'm now going to turn it over. Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson, for those clarifying questions. I will now turn it over to the chair of the government operations, in whose committee this docket is now in, to clarify to our colleagues any additional steps. Councilor Coletta Zapata, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and I appreciate all of these questions from my colleagues. I welcome it, and I'm really happy to provide some clarity. So ultimately, we had to ensure that this was properly before the body. Right? Nothing has been noticed to abide by public meeting law and public meeting guidelines. And so if we got to this point, and I had no idea folks were even going to agree to this meeting happening, right? We needed 2/3 vote, which is something that we just voted to do. And it was properly referred to the committee. The intent was always to have a hearing if this were to be properly before the body and referred to committee. I think personally, I just want to say that this is an important matter to all of us and to the city of Boston. And I think it is always important to have a space for residents for their voices to be heard. And so when this ends, we'll be sure to have public testimony. And so in terms of panels, I think that that's to be determined, right? I just wanted to we want to get through today and see what happens. But I'm happy to take into consideration anybody's thoughts, comments, suggestions. My phone is open, my office is open. If folks want to provide any guidance for me during this process, I'm happy to talk to anybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the chair of the committee has spoken. This is, again, we don't usually have extended conversation on once a docket is referred to committee. I do see 3 hands continue to be up. I will take them. And then upon that, once they are answered, we will adjourn. The chair recognizes Councilor Flynn.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Councilor Coletta, for providing some background on that. I have a couple of questions. Councilor Coletta, will there be an opportunity to have community meetings in the neighborhood so residents, we can take this to residents and let residents weigh in with their opinion and listen to them, like some meetings have already taken place in various neighborhoods, but is there an opportunity for the city council to go into the neighborhoods and listen to residents explain this, the pros and cons?
Thank you, Councilor Flynn, for that question. Councilor Murphy, do you have a question?
Yes, there was a question earlier about what constituted an emergency. My assumption when I saw it written that way is because after this hearing, there would be time to schedule, after this meeting, there would be the 48-hour window to schedule a meeting on Tuesday. So I'm not sure if that was just answered, but I'm assuming now we're going to have a hearing on Tuesday. And is that why this was considered an emergency? Because we want to get this done and vote on Wednesday?
I'll answer that question first. So it's within, I called the meeting within my discretion under Rule 1 to call an emergency meeting and to do so in a compliance with open meeting laws. We are under a time constraint. If there are going to be changes made to the tax assessment, that there are time limitations for both here in the city of Boston. We have time limitations because this has to go to Beacon Hill for approval, for further debate. So I'm trying to get us to act as quickly as possible and with not wanting any further undue delay so that this matter can be, so that we can deal with this matter.
Okay. Also, I appreciate what Councilor Fernandez said about the vote, but I do want to be clear that I asked the question before I voted, because I did want to make sure that if I voted to continue, which I wanted to, but that there would still be time for questions. So maybe what we should have done first is allow a conversation before, because there are lots of times at our council meetings that people talk at length, and it usually is time at the hearing that those conversations should happen. But if there is fear that we won't have a hearing, I think it's our responsibility to make sure that at least some of these questions are put on the record and not feel like Wednesday's going to come and we're going to be forced into a vote without a conversation.
Thank you. The matter, I think Councilor Coletta Zapata stated that she obviously just recently received this docket and that she does have an intention of holding a hearing. I think there are, again, some limitations on this being our first Zoom meeting online and seeing when people are asking questions. Again, normally when a docket is referred to committee, there is an extended conversation, so I was not expecting, but I'm allowing for these questions. Councilor Mejia?
Yeah, thank you, President. I think that what I love about these opportunities is because everybody is trying to figure some things out here. And so I really do appreciate your patience and the chair for understanding what we're trying to do here is what is best in the best interest of the constituents that we serve. And delaying this any further is just going to cause more anxiety for those elders who have been blowing up our emails, right? So I think I really do appreciate your leadership and your due diligence in doing just that. And I also just wanted to know, just for like procedurally, I think an introduction, because this is the first time that we've done something like this online, is just a little bit more of a setup and some framing so that, you know, those folks who weren't sure what they were walking into have a better understanding. I guess my questions were more just kind of, I want to make sure that I know what I'm voting on, why I'm here, and what the next steps are going to be moving forward before I voted. That would have been helpful to me. So, you know, lesson learned, and I appreciate the opportunity to do just that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. And now, Councilor Flynn, final question. Is this another hand?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my comment is the process here seems rushed, in my opinion, in that we're just doing this meeting as a formality, and then we'll go right to Tuesday and right to the vote on Wednesday. It doesn't seem like we're actually doing our due diligence in studying this issue, listening to constituents, listening to residents. It's almost as if we're a rubber stamp and we're just trying to get this out the door by Wednesday afternoon for whatever reason. That's my opinion. Is that inaccurate, Madam Chair?
That's your, as you stated, that's your opinion. I'm not going to offer an opinion on your opinion.
Well, my point, Madam Chair, is this process is rushed. I don't think we're doing a due diligence to our constituents by not operating in a transparent manner.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn. Councilor Coletta Zapata, would you like to respond to any of the statements or, wait, before that, Councilor Fernandez Anderson, is that a new hand?
It
Councilor
is,
Fernandez-
just a point of order. I'd like to retract my vote to a no, not to adjourn. There are 3 more that can say no, and then we can have a conversation and not play victims. If you want to have a conversation about it, just take back your vote, make it a no, and let's talk. If not, can we adjourn?
There
Oh,
would have
I
to be-
love that. I love that. I did. Thank you, Councilor Anderson. If people feel that way, I'll follow your lead and I'll retract my vote too. I
Yeah.
take my vote back.
I will do the same. I will do the same.
I will do
as
the
well.
same. I'll retract mine.
There has to be a motion for reconsideration. It has to be seconded, and then we'll have to vote on it.
Thank you. Motion to reconsider my vote.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor of continuing and taking back the adjournment vote so that folks can ask questions?
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Oh, to continue.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Wait.
Continuing.
Can you, Madam Chair, can you explain what the vote actually is so we're all,
Yeah, please.
we all
Thank you.
understand what it is?
The vote is that there is not, this is a vote to reconsider adjournment
Yep.
so that folks who have questions can continue asking questions. I am in support, and so all those in support of the motion to reconsider so that folks can continue to ask questions, say aye.
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 I'm going to have to take a roll call for that.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's weird.
Roll
Mr.
call
Clerk,
on the
please conduct a
motion
roll
to-
call vote.
The motion, a roll call vote on motion to reconsider adjournment. Councilor Braden. Councilor Braden.
No.
Councilor Braden, no. Councilor Coletta Zapata.
No.
Councilor Coletta Zapata, no. Councilor Durkin.
No.
Councilor Durkin.
No.
Councilor Durkin, no. Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilor Fernandez Anderson, yes. Councilor Fitzgerald.
No.
Councilor Fitzgerald, no. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Lujan.
Yes.
Councilor Lujan, yes. Councilor Mejia.
Yes.
Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy, yes. Councilor Pepin.
No.
Councilor Pepin, no. Councilor Santana.
No.
Councilor Santana, no. Councilor Weber.
No.
Councilor Weber, no. Councilor Worrell.
Yes.
Councilor Worrell, yes.
I think Fitz was confused. Fitz, are you trying to do something?
Councilor Mejia, Councilor Mejia.
Hey, his face. I was
There
just
is-
looking at his face.
7 votes.
Councilor Mejia, if Councilor Fitzgerald has an issue, he can raise it himself. Mr. Clerk, what is the roll call vote?
The roll call is 7 votes in the negative and 6 in the affirmative.
Thank you. Does anyone want, that is the vote. The roll call vote is 7-6. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you again to my colleagues. Have a great day, everyone.